Good morning, comrade. You are listening to WHIV-LP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade. Jeff and Robert joined by a very special returning champion, the one, the only, Patrick Shepard. Patrick, say hello to the audience.
Hello, great to be here. Thanks for having me back on. And if you're not watching on YouTube, I gotta say I was not prepared for how hard the opening graphic would go, but it's fantastic.
That's right, the magic of Canva.
Yeah. Remember when people used to make
like cheat codes? I swear.
instead of just using AI, we all just use Canva. Yeah, I remember the good old days of 2 years ago. Yeah, anyway. I use Canva for work, and I use Canva for my job, and my bosses think it's witchcraft. They're just like, I didn't even know you could have programs like that downloaded on the computers here, like what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. Maybe I should pay me more, so you don't have to hire a graphic designer. Wow.
I mean, yeah, it once I figured it out, it felt like I taught myself how to use InDesign and those things, but I'm an idiot at them. I don't know what I'm doing. But then Canva just solved all the problems. This is not a Canva advertisement, but for an organizer, and if you're bad at it, you can make something that looks kind of good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's the best part is it's easy, and even an idiot like me can do it. So there you go. You don't need to say it, oh yeah, you are an idiot.
I know, but it's true. But it's just one of those things. I don't know. It's I know we're gonna sit here talking about tech stuff, but Jeff and I were talking about tech stuff before. It's the march of progress, and I feel like we're in a time to where I'm sure there was a lot of friction between using you've got the Model T and you're not learning how to ride a horse, ooh, you're somehow losing your humanity. And it's no, I'm just being more efficient. But then also the Model T pollutes. So we got to figure out how to not make it do that. It's just this weird friction between coding is the same way. It's you're using AI to write code. That's not the way to do it. It's but also not everybody's going to learn this, but somebody has to. And it's cool that you do learn how to, it's cool to have skills. If it's your hobby, I guess what I'm trying to say, if it's your hobby to do Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, or to hand draw stuff out and then literally cut it out and then take pictures of it and do stop frame animation to make your concert flyer or whatever, that's completely cool. And people still need to be doing that, but you can't expect everyone to do that. Other people just want to get the job done, and it's not their passion to do graphic design or code or whatever it else is.
It ain't my fault their stuff's gonna suck. Anyway, we have Patrick here on the show. Patrick actually is a recent person that moved to New Orleans, and now he is here to talk about the rise of socialism as we're currently seeing in just coming off the election of two DSA endorsed folks, Claire Valdez and Darilisa Avila Chevalier, as well as several down ballot folks. And just wanted to start about talking about this, I guess, sort of generally, and then we can drill down, I guess, as far as scope into this moment and where it's leading and all kinds of stuff. So, Patrick, what do you see? What just tell us a little bit about your experience, I guess, in New York and with TSA a little bit more generally.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. First of all, thank you for the wonderful welcome to this beautiful city. It's true. I did just move to New Orleans 3 weeks ago, and it's great to be here. Although I will say I picked the perfect time, because I moved a week before the Knicks won. Mm-hmm. And 2 weeks before there was a socialist revolution in New York City. So all my friends in New York are sending me memes and dunking on me for oh yeah, you got FOMO now, you idiot. Look, you decided to move. So
clearly you were holding New York City back. I'm kidding.
Clearly, yeah. That was the piece that was missing. I just I was the weight around their ankle or whatever. But I'll say just a reflection real quick about I'm moved into Algiers Point, beautiful neighborhood. Great for kids, beats the hell out of the, one bedroom, third floor walk up. I was hauling strollers up and down every day in Queens. But, what is up with this funny phenomenon? And maybe y'all can shed some light on it. So, okay, New York, if you're going to see anyone, it takes a minimum 45 minutes to get there. It takes 20 minutes to drive across the bridge to the West Bank. Everyone in the city pretends like they're going to Baton Rouge. They're going 2 towns over.
I talk about this all the time. So as a not New Orleans native myself, as somebody who moved here, so I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida, kind of the same way. It's just like
Richie Floyd.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
former guest on the show.
4-lane highways. And I also lived I went to college and lived in Cincinnati, Ohio. Same thing. Everything's connected in an interstate loop. The thing, it's mindset here. Nothing in New Orleans is far. There's just no good way to get anywhere. And when you splice that into, this is the smallest destination city, international destination city in the world. Like a little bit over 500,000 people live in the New Orleans, in New Orleans. So it's a small town mindset with there's no good way to get anywhere. So nothing is far. It's just New Orleans far. Like my gym is not far at all, but it just I have to go through. I can't hop on the interstate to get there. I have to go through, because I'm going to the gym after this. I have to go through. It's like 5 miles with a light every 200 feet, it feels like. And so it feels like an eternity. It's just a feel. It's a vibe.
I will, concede the point that there's no good way to get anywhere. Because it's like, I can see the other side of the river from my window right here. But my friend was stuck here for 3 hours last night because apparently there was a shooting on the bridge. So, okay. All right. I get it.
Well, just take the ferry. It's so efficient. No. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to take the ferry to a streetcar. It'll definitely be on time. It'll be great.
The streetcar is so frustrating because it's so cute until you actually have to get somewhere. I feel so, it's not even like, I feel bad. Like it is a problem. Helen Moreno, this is a problem. Our bus system is not consistent. The streetcar, God bless anybody, I mean this seriously, who has to take the streetcar for actual transportation and not have to take the streetcar just because they feel like they're a tourist that feels like taking the streetcar and taking their picture on the streetcar. People are actually taking that thing to and from work. It sucks. It sucks. God forbid it's full and now you have to wait on the next. It's awful, dude. And then we call that public transportation. No. It's a problem.
Yeah. And public transportation, that is something that I'm sure if people ran on that in this city, they would do pretty well. Speaking of running on particular, let's just talk about your DSA experience and what you've sort of gotten, how you got in here.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll say first, I'm just here as Patrick, not representing any organization, union, anything else. But I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I'm a union organizer first and foremost by trade. Started off actually in Florida as a union organizer. Working for the state AFL-CIO as a student mobilizer and as an organizer. Moved over to all kinds of stuff, little one-off organizing gigs. I spent some time with the United Faculty of Florida, with SEIU down there. Ended up moving up to New York in, how long ago was that? 2012. It was right after Occupy Wall Street.
It's like 14 years ago.
Jesus.
That feels like a lifetime ago.
I know. Okay, so I moved up to New York about 14 years ago. Kept organizing. Eventually, found myself with the United Auto Workers up there, which represents thousands and thousands. Surprising. UAW. This might be a question some people have. Why is the UAW all over New York elections? I'll tell you why. The UAW up in New York City represents museum workers, grad workers, university faculty, workers at cultural institutions, workers at schools, all kinds of other small shops. It's extremely amalgamated. Most of the UAW locals in New York City there's a really interesting history here, are descendants of a famously radical left-wing union, refused to sign anti-communist pledges during the McCarthy era, called District 65. Now, that union became insolvent and affiliated with the UAW, I think, in the early mid-90s. And then so the constituent parts of that became the UAW locals. So, there's a history behind everything. That the political operation behind that union is one of the most progressive in the country. It knows how to mobilize people, and it actually organizes. My union local that I was an organizer for when I lived there, and a representative and a negotiator, represented schools, museums, and it's really been the driving force behind a whole new wave of unionization, in the Northeast, and kind of proof positive for organizing in these spaces across the country. That union recently organized the Metropolitan Museum of Art, one of the largest museums in the country, 1,000 new union members at a museum just earlier this year. And that is also the union that one Claire Valdez came out of as a steward and as a shop leader and an organizer at Columbia. So what a great and storied history we found ourselves part of. Anyhow, union organizer experience, union negotiator experience all over the place, but mostly for the United Auto Workers. And with DSA, I joined DSA in 2015 and kind of got to take the whole ride with the ascendancy of that chapter. Joined in 2015, right before the big bumps started happening. Over the course of 2015 and 2016, we saw some steady and rapid growth, with the Bernie Sanders campaign. A little overlooked, but shouldn't be part of the movement development, was the victory of Verizon landline workers in their strike. I believe that was the summer of 2016. That strike was historic. It was a huge victory, and it was an opportunity for a lot of organizers and a lot of the left who kind of had it coalesced in a single home in the city, all kind of agreed that DSA is going to be our vehicle to fight and our vehicle for social change and political change. And then I was there for the founding of the New York City Electoral Working Group and our electoral project in early 2017 into 2018. So yeah, it's been a crazy ride, and here we are.
You've been around. And one of the things that we've sort of seen, I guess, more recently is certain degrees of electoral success, not just that elections are everything, obviously. I mean, DSA does a host of things, and I do think in sort of like the popular imagination, I guess, the way that people think of DSA as an organization is like primarily electoral. But that's, in my view at least, and feel free to disagree with me, kind of a way that we consolidate a lot of the gains that we make through organizing otherwise, be it labor organizing, be it anti-war or anti-genocide organizing, and various and sundry other things that we do as an organization, and that's where we sort of, I guess, that sort of manifests when it comes to pushing forward, I guess, like policy in a sort of in the political realm.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I've come to see it maybe a little with a nuanced maybe difference there, and I think there is this thing that exists. Maybe it's like a relic of a time where the left was unable to win elections. Before 2016, 2015. That I think there is this tendency around the socialist left in this country to view, there is like real activism and there's like real whatever organizing and like on the ground work and and then there's like the red work that some might call it, and then there's like another thing you do in addition to that organizing is elections, right? Or and then for some folks, I think the pendulum swung too far the other way. It's like the stuff that you do outside of like elections is just like a component for getting enough publicity to like win an election.
Right.
I think we should throw this dichotomy, this like false dichotomy, into the trash can. It is all organizing, and it is all building power, and we should just put it on a meter of the power you're building. What opens up doors to have you build more power, and what you could potentially do with it. I mean, when you look at it, all of the successes in these elections in New York City, it's bringing in more members, bringing more resources. The goal is to, with these seats that we're winning, is to be able to turn around and translate that into real material wins for the working class. But that's going to involve. We were able to get here through like all the legitimacy that we've been able to build by being, the first ones and the loudest voices condemning the genocide, the most consistent and loudest voices for housing and transportation and against war and against racism and anti-LGBT sentiment. So you got to consistently show up in that place to have the legitimacy to run a movement candidate. Is ultimately our elections depend on thousands of people participating like directly in the project. And if they don't trust you, if they haven't seen you showing up, like that's not going to work. You can't just airdrop this model into like anyone, like the DNC does with just dropping money into a suit and say, this is the candidate now. It doesn't work like that.
Are they even
showing up?
I just got here and I'm in charge. It's my first day and I'm in charge. That kind of stuff.
I was gonna say, not even the DNC. Like, let's forget all the the spooky rumors of just like these people are just plants. But just like you can't be Ralph Nader and you can't be Jill Stein, and then every 4 years you're just like, hey, did you know the Green Party exists and you should just come vote for us because something? And it's like, no, you have to like have relationships with people. So that's what it was. Like Zoran Mondami built relationships, and then he became mayor off of those relationships, and then now he's a kingmaker. He wasn't that overnight. It's because people are like, oh, who's this lady on the ballot? I've never heard of her. Oh, that the mayor guy, the Zoran guy likes her. Great, that's what I'm voting for. That is the culmination of all that.
And Zoran's such a great example because Zoran would, before he was elected, he participated in anti-war, anti-apartheid activism, and then that in that community he was very highly respected. So when he ran, those people showed up. And then what happened after he was elected? We would have like small meetings or fundraisers for anti-war events, and then we have a state assembly member just showing up and participating and lending like the gravitas and attention and power, of the office to the effort. So it is. It really the dichotomy has to go. It's like the office. There's a bunch to be said for elections. It's the main for most people in this country. It is like the main outlet and place where to them politics happens. So it's like you do have to contest the ground there, and it is maybe the best vehicle to allow you to knock on someone's door and have a political conversation with them. But outside of all that, we got to get rid of the dichotomy here. It's like elections are a tool, and it solidifies our power, and then we use that power to hit the ground, and then we hit the ground to win more power.
You're speaking my language. Jeff and I've preached this, and I feel that very few people can understand it because I've said it in a way of just like I don't believe in electoral politics at all. I do not. But elections still happen in our shared material reality, and they take so much They take so much effort, or so little effort, and have so much consequence that I show up and vote in every dumb election that we have. Every single one.
Even the one yesterday.
No, yeah, oh no, I early voted.
How many elections you have in the city, by the way?
Oh, buddy.
Because they're always trying to slide through some foolishness. It's always like, should we melt trans people and use their blood to cool data centers that we're building in Cancer Alley?
No,
yes,
it's always to
it's
always to put that stuff in the state constitution.
Yeah. God.
Yeah. Welcome to the fun. We've been telling people about it for so long, and now you get to participate.
Because I think what happens is, it's not anything malicious, but I think people who are really into electoral politics and they think, and it's their thing, their vibe, and they get people so gassed up on, hey, if we just elect Barack Obama, hey, if we just elect Zoran Mandami, things like everything's going to be great. It's going to be a utopia. A million flowers are going to bloom. And then when that doesn't happen, these people are like, well, what's the point? I think elections should be, I don't want to say boring. I think they should, like you said, just another tool. Like, hey, this is just a thing we're going to do on this date, and then we're going back to work.
Yeah, one component.
I will say. I mean, part of the Zoran phenomenon, I think, that's like making people's heads spin, especially our opposition's head spin, is he's laying bare. He's showing the lie to the idea that like the centrist Democrats, the lie that they tell that once they're in office, it's like, oh, I wish I could do this for you, but exactly. The parliamentarian or whatever. And then Zoran gets in, and he's like, yeah, I just did it. Exactly. I just did the thing.
Look at that.
It's like, wait, you could have they could have always just done it? Like, what?
100%.
Well, and it's not just that. It's like one of these things where wait, hold on a second, because people are not stupid. Like people are very, very smart, and they see that the right wing, when they get power, they wield that power. They will use it to cut taxes on the wealthy and attack every single like identity group that exists. And when Democrats and liberals get into power, they just sort of are like, well, here's the process that explains why we can't do anything ever. And then they'll have something like Obamacare, which is like included an expansion of Medicaid, which was genuinely good, but it also was a giant giveaway to some of the most evil healthcare corporations in this country, so much so that it mandated everyone to use their services. And it's just like one of these things where it's like, hey guys, we did it. We fixed the thing. We did it. This is the kind of stuff that they can get through, which is just like, a sandwich that is half a hamburger and half a turd. And then, the rest of it is just like, well, we can't undo any of the horrible things because of, like you just said, the parliamentarian or whatever.
Yeah. Just exposing the uniparty.
I mean, we talk about these ideas of transformative reforms, right? Transformative reforms. And obviously it's like, I don't think it's a useful dichotomy to say, was this revolution or not? Because it's not going to like tell you anything or help you formulate a strategy to like get you closer and put more power in the hands of working class. But, we talk about this idea of transformative reforms, and you can do these reforms in such a way where you transfer power from the capitalist class, from the ruling class, into the hands of everyday people, even a small amount, through this or that reform. And Obamacare is a great example, is that genuinely was like, it made millions of people's lives better. It did. But the one piece that might have created an opening to power transfer a little bit was the public option. And that's the part that got spiked. Compare that to, the thing that we advocate for, obviously, Medicare for all, where it removes like a third of the economy from the hands of private profit. It means that, your way you stay alive, your health care, no longer is contingent on you keeping a job that you hate. it completely changes the balance of power. And it might seem like a small tweak, but moving that power into the hands of the ruling class is like what it's all about, or into the working class from the ruling class. What it's all about.
You let it slip. But yeah, so the ruling class should be the working class should be the ruling class. Let's just put it like that.
Yes.
So anyway, so I guess in terms of, because you saw, at least in first person, obviously it's not like you've put your fingers in your ears since you've moved away from New York City, but you've sort of seen in the past year or so, how one person like Zohran Mamdani can become, I guess to a certain extent, whether maybe you agree with this or not, but something of the face of the sort of like democratic socialist worldview, and the political face of an organization like DSA, even though that's not like you and I know that that's not necessarily like how it's a lot more democratic than that internally. But what has sort of been, as this has happened over the past year and a half, 2 years, or even the past 7-8 years, looked like for you?
So how has it looked to me, or
how has it sort of developed over time? Is my question.
I see. So I think we should look at it this way, and there is a fundamental thing that if I could like put one thing in lights, if I could have everyone like deeply think about and internalize just one thought, one line of thought. The success that the New York City chapter of DSA and chapters all around the country, it's just, part of it is New York is the biggest city in the country, and it's where all the journalists live, so it gets over-reported on.
Media obsessed city. It's crazy.
Yeah, right. But our movement has had similar successes in like relative scale all over the country. In Athens, Georgia, in Austin and San Antonio, in LA, in the Bay Area, all over the country, there are examples of like democratic socialist candidates running movement campaigns and getting to office successfully. And there's a funny pattern too, where they often get in with like 51% of the vote, and then their next election they win like mandate of heaven, like 80% plus. Because people, once you get a socialist, you love them and you want to keep them because they're actually the best as far as like retail politicians and people who like deliver on real things, like the thing that they're always trying to. Oh, you're just running on ideas. It's the socialists that deliver. Like when you get right down to it, and once people see that commitment to actually delivering for people and changing your life for the better, you want to keep them. But we've had similar successes everywhere. The thing I want to say is in 2015, in 2016, myself and others put together a plan that we predicted at that time could mobilize tens of thousands of people to vote for an openly democratic socialist candidate. And this was the innovation at that time. Like, wait, Bernie is showing us that there is a base for these ideas, and for whatever reason, the conditions have changed, or maybe we're just recognizing like a change that has happened long ago, that socialists can just say what you think. You can actually just ask for what you want. You can say what you think, and it can be a winning message. But at the time, we made this plan and people laughed at it. It seemed impossible 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it seemed impossible, absolutely impossible. If you would have told me how wildly successful the project would be, even as somebody who was helping to construct it back then, I would have said that you're crazy. It's impossible. But here's something that we've learned. When you run a political campaign in this manner, with small dollar donations, depending on activating a huge mass of volunteers and running on issues that are widely and deeply felt, in picking a target opposition that people have lost faith in, and honestly, these political machines that have forgotten how to do politics, that are completely hollowed out across the country. When this alchemy all comes together, the upside is more than anyone could have ever imagined. Like the potential energy in just about any city in the country to unleash a political force of the organized progressive left and working class in that city. We are all sitting on a powder keg. We're all sitting on a keg of dynamite.
It's possible everywhere.
It's possible everywhere, and you must but unleash these forces, and that's what's happened. We've pierced the membrane, and like it's broken containment. Like
spreading like wildfire.
Now.
And that's the
Zoran
thing.
Mandami. Zoran Mandami, one of the most recognizable political figures in the country. And this cat got his start as, a DSA activist going to working groups. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the world we live in.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too, because what you hear from, the DNC and liberals is that, that's just New York City. And you're going to find this out if you don't, haven't already. Like, winning ground as a socialist in a blue city district, whatever, it's harder because just like here in New Orleans, like everybody, like you have to be a Democrat. You have to have a D by your name to win an election here in the city, but that doesn't tell you anything about what that person's values are and who they actually represent. And the same thing with New York, because now you're taking fire from your front and your back, because you can't just point at a party. You can't point at the guy who openly says, I want to melt immigrants down and try to create the Philosopher's Stone. These people come at you with, we're doing the best we can. Oh, well, these things, like you were talking about the parliamentarian, these things just aren't possible. So it's a harder climb to try to defeat liberalism than it is to defeat right-wing fascist reactionaries. It's a much harder climb. And that is so you can't just say, this is just New York. No, because if it can happen in New York, then it can happen everywhere. Just to hammer home your point of what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. And listen, and this is something I would love to see more. I mean, Graham Plattner, problems with him aside, Graham Plattner is kind of showing that somebody who is running on this progressive left populism in Maine, like he can drink the milkshake of both parties by doing that. And it's something I would love to see more. And I think we're in the moment to see it, because I think the DSA project has certainly demonstrated that the democratic political machines that have really been in charge of a lot of big cities and swaths of the country, they are hollowed out. There is nothing to them anymore. They have, just like the rest of civil society having basically completely collapsed, these cats do not remember. They do not know anymore. They have sold their heart and their soul in their ability to conduct a political fight. They have outsourced everything to consultants. They have sold their own blood to an industry of running elections. And they don't know how to do it, but the same thing has happened to the Republicans. The Republicans don't know how to do it either. So it's just two different consultancy firms running against each other, and neither of those can stand up to when you introduce a real political movement into the mix. Shit goes sorry, Jeff. Stuff goes boom.
3440.
Yeah, and again, I say this on the show a lot, and I think it is really important to address, because it's we're seeing almost like a reflection in a horrible mirror the rise of, and I wouldn't call it a working class movement, of course, but it's sort of like Capes as it. There is a right wing sort of like bizarro version of what's going to happen that does at least not necessarily connect with people in the way that we're building things that actually help people, but it's more of a distillation of hatred and anxieties of working people that is kind of putting this moment that we're in a socialism or barbarism type of situation, and we're seeing the center crumble in real time because the center are not even pretending to try to even reach out to anybody who doesn't have a giant check for them,
right.
a giant novelty check for them. So we really are in a situation where we need to make sure that like if we don't win this fight, if we don't build socialism, we will end up in a fascist state more so than we currently are.
100%. And like our enemy of the show, James Carville, after sitting here
we
in
talked about it last time too, Jeff.
Talking about
we just love James Carville so much over here.
I actually was sitting across from that dude with my Bernie shirt on at the Philly convention, like on the airplane back to New Orleans, and I just death stared at him the whole time.
He looks like he smells. Does he?
Golly. But like he's sitting up here on national news talking about, well, I guess I'm not in the Democratic Party anymore. I guess I'm like, where are you going to go, James? You're going to go vote for Republicans? Like, you've always been a right winger. The mask has just slipped. Like, these people are our actual enemies. Like, they're the ones holding up progress. Right wingers, yeah, they want to kill me, but I don't worry about them so much. I think about like what Malcolm X says. I'd rather fight you from the front than having to watch my back all the time. It's a much easier way to go. So it's like, yeah, like these are the people that must be defeated. Their third way ideology, liberals throughout time will always cede ground to fascists. We've seen this over and over again through history. Those are the people we must defeat first, politically.
James, first of all, it's really amazing. I mean, he's actually a pretty good argument against capitalism because,
right.
If capitalism makes the free market chooses like winners and what is the most efficient thing or whatever, I don't know how someone who is professionally wrong about everything could have like a 40-year career in politics. It's pretty like, you can set your watch by it. Whatever he says, the opposite's going to happen. And he's been doing that since the Clinton administration. It's pretty cool, pretty amazing. If he's listening. Outside chance. I don't know. I'm sure
he's one guy elected one time by running to the right and doesn't understand why right-wing populism, or not populism, but why like what he's doing is promoting right-wing economic and social systems, and he doesn't understand why that's not popular anymore. Like the moment's over. And I would even say, to be completely, without the venom, even a Bernie Sanders, like, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. How you got us here was by compromise and conceding. You've put us in a position where we don't have to do that anymore. And we're moving on. But thank you so much, sir. But yeah, it's like we don't have to do that. We just go take. We take. We go win elections and we take.
100%. The one thing I could tell to James though, or anyone like him, is now that the primary season is over in New York, it's really important that we unite the party.
Yes,
Claire Valdez, behind Arieliza, and you know what? Vote blue no matter who.
Blue no matter who. What happened to that? That went away so quick.
That was never a thing. I mean,
never.
Like, we're all old guys here. I mean, you remember cynical.
It was as cynical for them as it was for me just now.
Right, exactly. But I mean, you remember from even the Obama election, the Puma group.
Yes.
You remember them?
Yes.
The Party Unity, my ass, when it was essentially like the Hillary dead enders.
Yeah, it was always a scam, always a joke. But like the thing that they got right is those aren't the people that we those people are one vote, and they're not a lot of votes. They control a lot of capital, but they don't control votes. Blue, no matter who, is real. To where if how many people went to in New York City, how many people who have no interest in politics but know they have to go vote showed up to vote in the mayoral race and goes, well, that guy's the Democrat, so I'm voting for him. So it is real. So this thing of just like, you have to, we have to have a third party or whatever. I'm like, no. Just take over the Democratic Party. But the thing is, when we're doing that, taking over the Democratic Party, we can't let the Democratic Party take us over. Cough AOC. Okay. But yeah, we can't, don't let them take you over. You have to take them over because there is power behind that. The grandma who comes out to vote, who just votes Democrat straight down the line, her vote counts just as much as the guy who's just like super politically like us. So I need her too.
There's something I think would behoove a lot of political strategists is just recognizing that your average voter is a lot more strategic thinker and is weighing things in a lot more sophisticated way than I think your average political analyst would give them credit for. So it's like, the concept of vote blue no matter who makes sense. People don't like the idea that you are going to split the vote and end up with a Republican. Like they genuinely hate that, which is part of the reason why the Green Party's model is just it can't get any momentum because the only place it can really go is either lose or ascend to the point where you can undermine the Democrat and the Republican wins, and then everyone hates you that you'll never win again. So it's the strategy just doesn't work with the structural with the super the legal superstructure that we run elections within. Your average voter looks at that and says that doesn't make sense. It's not going to work. Whereas running in Democratic primaries is a straightforward thing. And of course, the system's different in New Orleans than it is elsewhere in the country. Closed primaries, open primaries, all this makes a difference. But people understand the concept of a spoiler, and they get mad if you're a spoiler.
I agree with you. I frame it in a way of war, and it's just instead of trying to defeat the enemy and recreate the battlefield, you have to defeat them on the battlefield as it already exists. You have to think of yourself as the left anyway. Maybe 100 years from now, 50 years from now, it won't be like this, but we have to think of ourselves as asymmetrical warriors. We're not trying to create our own standing army. We're trying to hit and run guerrilla warfare. The only way that smaller, scrappy militaries have defeated huge powers like Iran, like Vietnam, like Algeria. It's not by saying, oh, here are the enemy's weapons that they left, and because of the enemy's weapons, they're bad. No, we're going to pick them up and we're going to use them. We are the insurgency. We're not going to try to recreate the battlefield. We're going to win it as we find it, and that means infiltrating and taking over the Democratic Party,
or at least that's a component of it, perhaps, or it might where it's beneficial, and and maybe in a place like New York or in cities or whatever. But if you look at Nebraska, what's that guy's name? Dan Osborne, who's running as independent, and there's no real Democratic Party infrastructure. Democrats' names are mud out there, so he's figured that. He could run on a sort of working class, at least with working class trappings in a working class style campaign as an independent, because there is no such thing as a Democrat out there.
You're saying the same thing I am. He's adapting to the battlefield as he finds it, instead of trying to just plant a flag and be here we are. No, he's taking the conditions as he finds them and using them to his advantage.
Yeah, there's something we just cannot get around, and I think it's a component of what y'all are describing. That is, in this country, as it is today, the reality is, it is one of the most powerful and, surprisingly most stable, apparatuses in the history of the world. The U.S. state is, incredibly dangerous, incredibly powerful, commands an enormous amount of money, an enormous amount of capability and, legal, economic, and otherwise. Here's the thing. The control over the levers of that apparatus are adjudicated, are decided by elections. And that's the reality of the terrain that we live in. So we have to contest it there. That's where the thing happens. And there is a certain kind. There is obviously the power in the labor movement, the power in the social movement to compel actors to do what we want them to. But ultimately, like short of a general strike, we are unable to compel the state to do stuff without either having someone who we can pressure or taking those seats ourselves. And that is a reality I don't think we can get around. So we have to go there. We have to go to where the conflict is over the actual levers of society. And currently in the world that we live in this country today, they are adjudicated by elections. And I don't, maybe other strategies for seizing those levers exist. I don't think that others right now in these material conditions are compelling,
Well, you mentioned the general strike, and even like you saying that we're getting involved in elections and all this other stuff, but like that doesn't necessarily exclude organizations like DSA or whatever from also engaging in some of these other actions. It's not just all elections all the time. We like you said, kind of at the top of the show. We are doing all of these things. We are making sure that we're one of the things that was passed at convention was engaging in the National Coalition for a General Strike. We've been doing break light clinics, which is basically, something in New Orleans. It's basically one of the things that got the chapter initially going, whether or not, that's something that's viable as far as like a long-term strategy or whatever. I don't know. But like as far as like a broader political strategy, but like, as far as having activities and things that are done through an organization like DSA, that's also still happening as well.
I often think of it like this. This is a really, I think, illustrative, historic example of the dynamic I'm talking about. The Flint sit-down strike.
Oh yeah,
right? Astounding moment in history. The birth of the 20th century American labor movement. One of the most profitable and advanced industries in the United States. It was the event that organized the auto industry. It invented. It was the thing that happened that allowed for the invention of like the 20th century American middle class, a huge transfer of wealth from some of the biggest companies in the world to the people who work for them, precipitated from the Flint sit-down strike. When for about a month, workers occupied their factories and had pitched battles with the police in Flint, as the police who were owned by the companies and the company thugs came and, with guns, with truncheons, with tear gas, tried to take them out of the factories, and people fought back, doing everything from, locking the doors to shooting door hinges off the roofs of these factories with, with car tires as giant slingshots. So this was the reality of the strike. But what the event was that resolved it? The event that resolved it was when the governor of Michigan, one Frank Murphy, an FDR Democrat, a pro-labor Democrat, he did a, up until that point, unique thing. And, he was elected, on some proto-New Deal energy, some progressive energy. He was elected and he sent in the National Guard to the strike. Now, in other strikes, if you're familiar with American history, sending the National Guard in usually means there's about to be a massacre.
Yep.
It's going to be workers who get massacred. Frank Murphy sent in the National Guard to set up their machine guns pointed outward between the cops and the workers to stop the cops from attacking the factories, to stop the company thugs from attacking the factories. He said, this ends the violence. Now you have to negotiate. And that was the first agreement between GM and the United Auto Workers, was as a result of that negotiation, because they were out of the leverage of violence and of state violence to use on those workers. Now, this takes nothing away from the bravery, the strategic insight, the amazing, the heroism showed by those workers in winning their union and fighting for it. But this shows, it was important that Frank Murphy was there. I'll tell you that.
It was those two things working hand in hand, right? The workers that organized their unions created conditions which the governor could send in the National Guard and not, put away essentially a lot of this stuff that essentially that is like I was saying at the top, that's a consolidation of organizing gains through state power. And it's one of those things where, again, none of these movements or none of these actions are taking place at the expense of one another. They're all in coordination with one another, and I think that's the point that we need to constantly drive home over and over again as we engage in these works. These projects.
I think about something Claire Valdez said that I really loved when she describes how she is going to use her position to help the labor movement. And obviously, it was a Teamster president in Brooklyn who gave her chant that you see at her rallies. He was in the middle of the talk. He was talking about his picket line, and he said, "You know what?" And Claire was there. And he thought about it. Claire was there, and everyone started chanting. Claire was there. It was a pretty cool moment. But the way she described what she's going to do is not that. I mean, Congress can't organize unions, and nor should it.
No.
Yeah.
But the way she described her ambition was to give the labor movement the tools to transform the U.S. economy.
Mm-hmm.
To take the boot of, horrific anti-union, this horrifically anti-union legal framework away. And if you but let the unions cook, they will do the thing.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. I agree with that. And so I guess we are coming up to the end of this conversation. But before we do that, we have about 7 minutes left. Anything else that you wanted to say before we get moving on?
Well, if you see me around town, I need friends. I would love to get a drink with you.
Yeah. Holler at me, for sure. Without a doubt. Honestly, I would like to either have you back on, or if you were up to it, ask you now, no pressure, over the radio. If you were up to it, either have you back on, or you and I can just do a thing. Cause I mean, with you, I know not to talk about the DSA, the nuts and bolts, but just how did the path that you went down to become having, a paying position in the DSA? Because there's a lot of young people out here who, not necessarily the DSA, but they want a job that's gonna allow them to sleep at night and not want to make them feel like they want to die. And I know there's stuff like Idealist out there that a lot of people look for. It took me 44 years, and I was lucky enough to finally find a job like that where I absolutely lucked into it. But I would just because I would have liked to known in my 20s what that path looked like to get a job in the actual paying job. I can pay my bills doing active
in movement work.
Yeah,
movement. That's
Jeff. Same with you. Honestly, you two should. Yeah, that's the. Hey, I'm not telling you what to do.
We can do a whole episode about this. I can give you a quick answer and a good opportunity to. I'm speaking only on my behalf. I'm not speaking on behalf of the Democratic Socialists of America today. I'm not an elected leader of the organization, I'm just Patrick today, but I'll say a couple things about that. Like, I mean, as far as the path, so there's two things going on. Like these organizations, unions, social justice organizations, movement organizations, need staff. I think there's this reality that if you want something done consistently and professionally, and I don't think we should be afraid of that word on the left, professionally, the best way to do it is to have one person do it like full time and be ultimately responsible for the thing happening.
It's guaranteed capacity that you'll never get with volunteers. It's impossible.
Absolutely.
I think at some point, like, expertise like counts for something. Like, no one is born as the best organizer. You develop as an organizer. The longer you do anything, you get better. Obviously, you need accountability. Obviously, in my opinion, you need like a democratic structure behind that to guide the work. But as far as doing it, you need somebody doing it full time. And that's a reality. And the thing is, when you want someone to do something full time, you got to provide them a livelihood. So there you go. Like, organizational staff exist. Now, my route and the route I think to look at for others is not a glamorous line of work to get into. It involved for me, having roommates in a small apartment for a while, living in a crawl space in New York, like into my 30s, and you go where the work is, you go where the need is, and you develop and take opportunities. It's not like a glamorous thing. I was working as a bike courier when I got a call to get my first organizing job in New York, and it's like, I don't know, it's not glamorous, but it's a great honor to work for these organizations. And it's always kind of a fun thing. I shouldn't say fun, but it's always a line you got to kind of figure out. We're all compelled because we care about this stuff so deeply to like work ourselves to death, but that doesn't help anybody to burn yourself out. I think a lot of people work for nonprofits, not just like unions or political organizations. A lot of people who work for nonprofits that they believe in the mission for are like understand this dynamic of like, you really do care about the mission. You'll work yourself to the bone. Ultimately,
We're certainly not doing it for the money.
I'm telling you right now,
we're not doing it for the money.
Jeff and Patrick, I'm not telling you what to do, but if y'all get that down into like just tell your stories with actionable steps, that's your $1 million book idea right there. I'm telling you. I'm not even joking.
Yeah. Well, we do got to get out of here. But yeah, maybe you can find that book on store shelves in a couple of years. But thank you so much, Patrick. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. It's always a pleasure. And we will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. This is WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. Good morning, comrade. We love you. Bye-bye.